back, everybody, to the Stories of Freedom podcast. Today, I'm excited because, Kayla and I have already shared our testimony, and we're going to be the host of the show. But today, we actually have our first guest, which is Kayla's husband, Justin. Say hi.
Say hi.
How's it going? This is Justin, Kayla's husband.
Nice introduction there.
Yeah. So, let's see. Before we get started, there was a couple things I wanted to mention, just real quick. Oh, the first thing that I wanted to mention was the background noises and stuff. You might hear that from time to time. I know that we had that on the last one. Normally, we record this after church, after the service, so you're gonna hear that sometimes. And that's just, I guess, how it is, at least for now. So,
that's life.
Yep. The other thing was on Kayla's testimony, I know people came up to me and told me that they couldn't hear her very well. And I went a couple weeks ago and resaved it in a different way, in a different program. And I think that fixed the problem because I haven't had anybody say anything since then. So if you tried listening to it and you had problems, go back and listen to it again because now you should be able to hear her. And then, we've been getting a lot of good feedback too. So,
good.
We've probably got about 5 or 6 people lined up right now to share their testimony.
That's
and
awesome.
A lot of people coming up asking how it's going and, that they're enjoying it and stuff. And when the next one's going to be, because I know we're spaced out.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's just technical difficulties. We did try to record this podcast on Sunday and it didn't pan out. So, didn't record right, but hopefully we got it worked out now. So we're trying to get them once a week, or at least once every other week. We'll see how that goes. But on that note, with having people lined up, we need ladies because
Come on, ladies.
everybody that has volunteered has been a guy. So definitely want to get some ladies in there. I'm sure you guys have some great stories. I've heard a lot of them from the men. I'd like to hear from the ladies. So
Yeah.
Yep.
I keep telling myself I'm going to make an announcement on the Tuesday night women's group, and then I forget, and we get way too into our study, and then I get home, and I'm like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Forgot.
That's all right. I know Renee was going to mention it once, a couple times too, and she forgets. So, but yeah, if you're listening and you want to share, please share. And then the only other thing that I wanted to bring up too is just, I know in the first 2 episodes, and you're probably going to hear it in this one as well as future testimonies. I know we've said some stuff about the Catholic Church and people being raised in the Catholic Church, and I know I even made a comment on mine, something like Renee was raised in the Catholic Church and then she started going to a Christian church, and I realized afterwards that sounded bad. I didn't mean to say if you're Catholic you're not a Christian. Yeah. So if you are listening to this and you stumbled across it and you're not somebody who goes to this church and you are Catholic, there was no offense meant by that. What I really meant by that was just it's a different style of service completely. Yeah. So we don't mean any offense by that. And I know there are a lot of people that when I've heard their testimonies, a lot of guys, they grew up in Catholic church and they talk about the difference. So it's bound to come up again. And there's nothing intentionally, we're not trying to offend anybody on that. So there's anyway, so nothing personal in that. That's basically what I was trying to say. So moving on, we can get to know Justin a little bit more on his testimony and hear his story. So
Yeah. Thanks for asking me to do this. I think this is an awesome thing. Testimonies are a super powerful thing for people to experience in giving theirs and for hearing others. Just seeing how Christ is working in other people's lives. It's awesome. It's awesome, and I just absolutely love the whole idea you had with starting the podcast to get with church members in here to give theirs. I think that's awesome. And anyways, I guess I'll start out with mine. I'll reiterate on some Catholic mentionings because I was actually raised in the Catholic Church, born in San Diego. My family was all devout Catholics. A lot of priests in the family. So it's a very, very big part of my upbringing, I guess, would be Catholicism, and I went through the whole motion. I was baptized Catholic. I had First Communion, but I was never confirmed because my dad wasn't the greatest Catholic. So me and my sister, we didn't finish our Catholic studies, I guess, how we should have. But anyways, yeah, started out Catholic, but definitely not now, which was pretty hard, to be honest, and I'll get to that later. But anyways, so my early years, born in San Diego, moved here as a child, up to the Reno area, like in 1996 or so. Work was drying up down there, so we moved for my dad, so he can help his brother with their glass business up here. So he moved up here for work, brought us with us, and I guess somewhat of a rough childhood started after that. Nothing too bad, but it had its rough times, that's for sure. My mom always battled depression, ever since the move, and maybe even a little bit before that, but I was young, so I really don't remember. So with that depression, came cutting, anorexia, bulimia, alcoholism. So that was something I witnessed for a long time, during my youth. My dad was no saint either. I mean, he had his issues with, overworking was a big one for him. And gambling was also another big one. But I was a witness to all that as a kid, and so it meant for rough times. That's for sure. My parents battled. I mean, they're still together, thank God. For I think they just hit their 32nd anniversary. And they're still together, and actually, even despite everything I grew up with, like, we all still have an amazing relationship with each other. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
And anyway, so having some tough years, and those went all the way through high school. And we bounced around a lot in the area, so I got an experience going to different schools, which is tough for a kid, trying to move into a school at that pubescent age, 13, 14, 15 years old, right in between 7th and 8th grade and high school. That's tough, especially when it means, trying to make friends. So that's, I think, where part of my struggle came from, was not having very many friends, and being alone a lot of the time.
Yeah.
That was tough to find people that thought like me and that I could hang out with. And it seemed like that was always a big struggle, was just finding people like-minded. And that was tough. That was tough going through those years, middle school and high school. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had friends, but just not good friends. And I never really had that. I just felt like I always did things on my own. Anytime I had a struggle, it was on me. I went through it. I dealt with it. I never had anybody, a sense of brotherhood, I guess. And anyways, that was tough, and I ended up dropping out of high school. In my senior year, I just decided I just wanted to work. I don't want to go to college. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I just wanted to work and just make something for myself, doing what my dad did, and that was to get into the glass business. So doing windows and such. So then started the I guess the next portion of struggles in my life. I started working out of town a lot for years. And I think I did that through my 20s, probably a good 6 or 7 years straight of just out of town work. I guess there was a sense of brotherhood with those guys that I had, but I guess not on the level that I needed. I still felt alone and kind of trapped, 'cause it was tough. It's tough. That loneliness really beat me up,
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't have anybody to really go home to except for my parents. I mean, nothing against them or anything, but I didn't have the wife or the girlfriend to go home to. So it really started into this huge, this pit of, I guess, loneliness that I struggled with, and it definitely started with working out of town, and I guess almost too much time to yourself. It's almost a bad thing. You just that fear, that those bad feelings just feed on that, and it's tough to get over. But anyway, so that loneliness definitely escalated for sure, and it brought me to some pretty dark places. I was never one to really drown it too much in drugs and alcohol, so that was never a huge problem. I mean, I drank and I did do my fair share of drugs, but it wasn't, I didn't go doing heroin because because I was in a deep dark place. I guess I just kind of just sulked in it and dealt with it. Anyways, that loneliness, mind you, Christ wasn't really in my life at this point. Sure, I went through Catholic, schooling and stuff like that. And I guess I knew there was a God, but there was never anything that I really thought about, until I really started struggling with this loneliness, and that's when I started talking to God, when I was alone, and I had. Besides my Catholic school, I never really read the Bible. I didn't know how to pray or anything like that. But I found myself talking to God, asking Him for things like, could you do this for me? Could you help me escape from this loneliness somehow? Help me find somebody, that I could find some meaningful purpose in this life with, and I never got that. It took a long time to get that. And it was rough. It was rough. I kept just going through that, and I think my family started seeing that I was in this hole, kind of this pit, kind of this gloomy pit, and my sister and my brother-in-law, whom just met each other not too long before this happened, but they met, and he got my sister into the Christian faith. I think he helped save her. She started going to church with him, and this, that, and the other, and eventually, I guess they saw where I was, and knew that I needed to go to church, that I needed to find Jesus. And if you would ask me at that point, that was the last place I wanted to be.
Yeah.
But I saw how Christ worked in their lives, even though I was somebody who really, I believe there was a God. It's not something I really thought about too much, but I could still see what Christ, did in their lives, and it got me to the point where I kind of wanted what they wanted. If God's working in their lives, well, I want that too. That looks pretty good.
Yeah.
So they invited me to church. And I went 2 times, and both times, and this is a non-denominational Christian church that we went to up in Reno, and a younger church, so I felt like I fit in. The crowd was about my age, so it felt good. And the very first sermon it felt like it was just about me. It was about where I was in life. It was about me, and it hit me hard. And I found myself weeping in their church. I mean, I hid it from them and everybody else, but it really, really shook me. Yeah. And so I went again, and the second time was even worse or better, depending on how you look at it. But that one broke me too. Same thing, and I ran after that. Yeah. I ran away from church. It was almost like a too good to be true feeling.
Yeah.
And I don't. Looking back, I have no idea why, but something drove me to run, and I ran from it. I still wanted that Christian life, but it just felt like I don't know if I felt like I was undeserving of it, or if it just felt too good to be true. But I ran from it, but still somehow still wanted that life. I don't know. It was a weird place I was in.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot, like from different people. Like they start coming to church, and they have whether it's friends of mine or just people in the church that I see come, and they, you can tell just in conversations you have with them that they really feel that connection to God. They feel God talking to them, and they know that it's real and know that He's real, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, they just kind of disappear. And when you talked about that, it reminds me of watching that happen multiple times throughout my church life, and I've always wondered kind of why that happens and why people could feel so close to God and maybe come for a couple of weeks or a couple of months and then just disappear and completely run from God. So it's interesting here you talk about that.
I think that's that biggest point that doubt jumps in. It doesn't jump in before you got to that moment where you walked into church. That doubt comes afterwards, and it seeps in, and
I think that's because Satan knows exactly when to pounce on you.
Exactly.
He's going to make you think it's too good to be true. He's going to make you think you're not good enough for that grace.
Right.
He's going to turn that conviction into feeling condemnation instead of the good that it's supposed to be that God intended for it.
Yeah.
So.
It reminds me of the story in the Bible where Jesus goes to the wilderness to pray, and he fasts for 40 days, and after being there for 40 days, that's when Satan comes and tempts him. And the reason why you fast is so you feel closer to God and you can rely on him. And he waited till Jesus was probably feeling as close to his Father as he could, and also the most vulnerable in one being hungry. And the first temptation they threw at him was turning the stone into bread, and it's like he attacked that weakness that he knew he would have when he knew that Jesus was getting close to the Father. And I think he does that with all of us. He finds our weakness, waits till he sees when we're getting close to God, and attacks that weakness.
Jerk.
Yeah.
And at this point, even though I ran, I was still talking to God, and I was asking him for things, and I was still asking him to rid me of that loneliness that I still felt. And it's funny you bring up the temptation of Jesus, but I think I was tempted after that because I guess that prayer, or I don't know, I guess it was answered.
Yeah.
I did meet somebody, and looking back, it was not a great thing, but I met somebody, and at that time, I felt like a prayer was answered for me.
Yeah.
I felt like God did something for me,
Yeah.
and I was so thankful, but it only lasted an instant.
Yeah.
He filled that void for me, or at least I thought he filled that void for me. But he filled that void, and I ran from him again. For a moment there, I thought I was going to be willing to go back to church, but this girl I met had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
So like I said, I ran again, and so I met this girl, and I felt good. I felt good because I was rid of that loneliness.
Yeah.
Felt good to have somebody that was there at home waiting for me. I guess somebody that missed me, and I know it sounds so simple, but that's all I wanted at that point in my life. That's all I was looking for, and I had that. And
so he gave you that sense of completion, like not being lonely anymore.
Yeah.
You were looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, that came from Satan, and you thought it was coming from God.
Oh yeah.
You know?
And even thinking it was God, I'd still just, hey, thanks. I'm gonna put you up on the shelf. I'll come back later when I need you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that definitely started my. I guess up until somewhat present times, I still have dealt with that conditional relationship with God. You do this for me, then I'll do something for you. I don't know why that even sounded okay in my head, but it did, and that's how I was for a long time, and I'd come back to him when I needed him.
Yeah.
And so into this relationship, which shouldn't have lasted 3 weeks, but it went on to 3 months and even to 3 years, and maybe looking back, I guess it did for a reason. I wouldn't change anything that happened because I don't think I'd be the person I am now without it. But yeah, but it was rough, and this person brought me to a pretty lonely world, like really, definitely a lost world, and I'll get to that in a second. Feeling like I just left one, and I'm almost in another, even though I have, started meeting friends and people after I met this person. It was still tough because all of these people were really into, I don't know how to put it, but one way I could explain it is just the Burning Man mentality. I don't know. I look back and it's just a bunch of lost souls trying to fill a God-sized hole with something else.
Right.
And I definitely saw that, and I thought that's what I needed. I thought maybe I needed to experience some spiritual enlightenment, but with these people out in the desert. And that started, I guess, a downhill slope, definitely away from God at that point, because the people I was hanging out with definitely did not believe in a God. And I started saying the same things. And I started calling myself an atheist. I remember my dad not being very happy with me at that point, because I would openly say that, but it was really funny because even though I had that loneliness taken away, I still found myself in some dark spots. But even those days that I called myself an atheist, I was still talking to God when I was alone.
Yeah.
I never told anybody that, but to your face, I'd tell you that, there's no such thing. But, I argued with my brother-in-law, a very Christian man. I argued with him all the time. And I don't know if it was just for the sake of arguing or what, but I always tried to pick that fight of, saying that God wasn't real. Right. And I'd go home and pray.
That's interesting.
I'm telling you, I was in some weird spots.
Do you think that's kind of like, because you talk about like almost a feeling of it's too good to be true. So like you're praying. I don't know. I'm just thinking like maybe you're praying, hoping that it's real, but you don't believe
I think it's
real?
because all these things that I thought were coming from God weren't exactly what I wanted.
Okay.
And,
I got you.
And I think there was that conditional
that
relationship.
Sense, yeah.
Like I'd ask for things, but they weren't what I wanted.
Right.
What I got wasn't what I wanted, or it didn't work out. And every time I'd get upset with that, like a little kid, and that's when I'm atheist. I don't believe.
Yeah.
But then I'd be in that dark place again. Hey, come help me with this, but I'd have nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
And that's where I found myself alone, praying. Just asking him to fix whatever I had going on. Still a lot of depression and stuff like that. Maybe not the loneliness, but actually even being with somebody, that there was a time when that loneliness did take over again. And I guess that's about where I'm at next. So probably a couple years into the relationship, towards the end, was out of town, and it was when things really weren't going good between us, and I just had this bad thought in my head this whole time, of what's going to happen if this relationship ends for me, and that idea of being alone again was just sounded so devastating to me. I had no idea how I could cope with that. This person's getting further and further away from me, and I'm going to be left alone again. Yeah. I'm going to go back to that deep, dark hole that I was in before. I don't want to go back there. And here I am sinking into a hole at this point. And suicidal thoughts started coming, Like, I think I finally got like one last text message or something like that when things weren't going very good. And I honestly considered suicide. I figured... there was nothing to live for at that point. If I couldn't make it work with somebody like that, then I can't make it work with anybody. So I'm, worthless. I really felt worthless. And, I was really close. I remember almost like a blackout-like feeling when I really thought about it hard and thought I was gonna go grab my gun and take care of it. I thought I was that close. And I remember this this bright, just this cloud of enlightenment. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this instant during that super dark feeling that I had of, of all these thoughts, and something came over me, and just told me that, that this isn't the way. Like, you're worth more. I didn't hear God speak to me or anything like that, but I just remember almost feeling like there was a cloud over me,
Mm-hmm.
to feeling like that cloud had been lifted.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just this I don't know, this clear thinking that I had, and 24 hours after that, I'm going like, how could I ever be in that
Mm-hmm.
position? Why would I
Yeah.
ever do that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so weird, and nothing happened to make me think that way. It was just during my thoughts, it just clicked.
It's like that overwhelming abundance of peace that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Like you can't explain it because it's God, and it's just so overwhelming that you're just like, holy cow, what's happening right now?
No,
Yeah.
and I look back and I think it was God. And I think
Mm-hmm.
he came in at that instant, my deepest, darkest moment, and
Mm-hmm.
and helped me out,
Yeah.
because
Because he knew he wasn't done with you yet.
Yeah.
yeah. And but at that time I didn't think it was God.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I thought, wow, that's kind of weird. How could I be thinking like that yesterday and then today be
Right.
okay? Oh well, I guess
Right.
I'm just.
Guess I'm not
just.
good.
I'm just weird.
Yeah.
No.
It's an off day.
And so I ended up going back home. And, at this point, I looked at the relationship, going like, this whole time I wasn't looking out for myself and what I wanted. And at this point, still looking back at what my, my Christian sister and my Christian brother-in-law had, I still wanted that. I still wanted that Christian life that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And I got home and pretty much ended the relationship. Like, that was pretty much it after that, and I was okay with that. I was
Mm-hmm.
content with being alone again. It was fine, and I never thought I could feel that way about it. I mean, that was rough. I mean, I was ready to kill myself over that feeling, and now
Yeah.
it's like it's here, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I was still having some arguments with myself on on that thought process. But anyways, I was there and back alone again. I mean, this would be January-ish, 2014, and I started talking to God again, more. I was alone all the time. I didn't have somebody to answer to or come home to anymore. So I was alone a lot, and I talked to God a lot. And never picked up a Bible at this point. I just kind of started just going back to church. I started going back to Catholic church with my dad. Felt like if I'm going to start back with this again, I got to go to what I know, and that's the Catholic Church. And so I started going back to church and talking to God, and I guess just praying. But again, no other effort except for that. I wasn't reading or doing Bible studies or anything like that.
Right.
I had no idea. There, you just read the Bible. That seems so weird to me at that point. But but here I was, praying to God, like, all right, I just want a Christian woman this time. Like, I don't want just any woman. Like, I want a Christian woman. I don't know why I want this, but it seems like it works out for other people. So I want that. And I was just thinking, contemplating on that thought, of how good a Christian life could be. I was like, well, I just want to raise a couple boys. And I remember, it's funny because I have 2 boys now. But I remember at this point asking for 2 boys
Yeah.
to raise as Christians. And I have no idea why I asked for this. I remember it was just one of those thoughts that, that's something that, in that last Bible study we did, kind of deciphering when the Holy Spirit is talking to you. I think that was one of those instances where the Holy Spirit was talking to me, because it wasn't my thought, it wasn't my words, but it was in my head.
Yeah.
So he definitely spoke to me at that point. I was unaware, completely oblivious, but I held on to that thought, that's what I wanted, and ended up moving down to Carson City, bought a house, and shortly after that, I decided to kind of, go back on the market, so to speak. I never tried online dating, but I figured the way I work and my work schedule, I don't have time. And also on another note, just if I want a Christian woman, I'm not going to meet her at a bar.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just, it's not really my thing anyways. I don't never go clubbing or or partying. It was never my bag. So I figured, worst case, I could at least try, an internet love finding site, and tried that, and it's actually really funny because that's where I met my wife Kayla.
Match.com.
Yeah. Yeah,
You're getting a good plug right now.
Yeah.
Oh no, it works. It works. It's really good to browse through all the bad ones first.
Yeah, you can definitely tell who's there for just a one night thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad things on there, that's for sure. But I was looking for love, and it was kind of tough wading through all those profiles, and you're just like, man, I'm actually on here legitimately looking for love and a relationship on here, and I could tell right off the bat that nobody else is. This is obscene. This is crazy. Yeah. And I honestly picked probably the worst profile picture you could see. I mean, nothing against your beauty. I mean,
Better not be.
I mean, it was pixelated. It was really pixelated, and it was really tough to see the picture.
Not tech savvy.
And and the profile was probably the most vague profile that I had seen on there.
Baseball. That's all you need to know about me. Or at the time, that's all you needed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a very vague profile, and I remember sending you that message, and you responded back. We both deleted our accounts because that's a place that neither of us wanted to be on. And I remember talking to my dad, like, hey, I met this girl online. I haven't even sent her a text message yet, but how crazy would that be? I don't know if I married this girl, because it has to start somewhere, right? And we joked, and it actually came true. So it's a pretty funny story now. But anyways, so I was going to church right before I met Kayla, and I met her, and I saw she had a faith tattoo and a Bible verse tattoo, another one on her leg, and I knew that I found a Christian woman. This is about as good a shot as I could take at anything at this point. As closest to that Christian woman as I thought I needed or knew I needed, and stopped going to church after that. It was all about her.
Yeah.
It was all about her in that first part of the relationship, which didn't last very long. We got engaged 3 months after.
Mm-hmm.
You moved in shortly after that. Knew we were pregnant shortly after that. So
Yeah, it was very fast.
yeah, so we were 6-7 months in the relationship after I'd proposed when we conceived Colston.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty awesome. That was a pretty awesome feeling to know that I finally found the right woman.
Yeah.
Our families thought we were nuts with how fast it happened.
Yeah.
But
That's for sure. But compared
we
to
knew,
I knew just based on just the feelings I had with everybody else that I've ever been with. It's like there wasn't a hole, there was a void anymore. And I really didn't feel alone because I felt like before you just had to be in a relationship to not be alone, but to not be alone, you have to be in a relationship and actually connect with that person. Mm-hmm. And we really connected on all levels, and it's only gotten better since we started doing Bible studies together and stuff like that. Actually, we both put Christ first. And it's been tremendous since that. But anyways, so Colston's just getting just placed in the oven, and he was there 5 months. We were 5 months pregnant. And we got married in March of 2015, and spectacular day. Like that was when finally felt like I locked it in.
It's official.
But
Now she
like,
can't escape.
exactly, like I found that Christian woman. I escaped from that loneliness. Like, all right, got her locked in for good,
Yeah.
and I did too, which is funny. But anyway, so we just got married, and that was, up until that point, that was definitely our happiest moments of each of our lives, for sure. And it was only a week after that we go in for a 20-week ultrasound, or 22 weeks.
Yeah, it was 22 weeks.
22-week ultrasound with Colston, and I think at this point we were able to, if we wanted to, we could see if it was a boy or a girl, and we still were on the fence of what we wanted to, if we wanted to know or not. And I think we were both on the green baby thing. We didn't want to know. So we go in for the 22-week ultrasound, and I mean, it was literally seconds into it, and we both looked at each other because we knew something was wrong. Just the way the nurse was looking over the ultrasound, something was wrong. And they brought us into another room, and they sat us down, and the first thing out of Kayla's obese mouth was your baby has a heart problem that most likely will, or probably won't support life.
Yeah.
And going from this super high the week before being married,
Right.
Having this woman locked in for the rest of my life, and to this pit again in literally an instant. Just knowing that this life that you created, might not even become.
Yeah.
At that point, and it's so hard. I honestly have no idea how people could look at that, look at that ultrasound, and not say that's a baby. It's a whole nother story. But but for us, that was
Right.
that was devastating, because that was our baby.
Yeah.
I don't care what people decide to call a baby at that stage, but that was a baby. It was a child, and our child didn't look so good at this point. And we went on our honeymoon, which was a pretty somber honeymoon. It's hard not to, really fully engage in your honeymoon, like you're supposed to, like we thought you were supposed to. The entire time was thinking about our son.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
just,
still want to do over.
at some point we'll get there. But just that anxiety
Yeah.
sort of really kicking in, and it was tough. And we came back from that, and we finally got to see a perinatologist, an expert on prenatal babies, or babies still in utero, whatnot. But anyways, this time they actually took a real close look at just the heart to try and diagnose what's going on, and this, that, and the other. And they looked at it, they talked about it, and then the doctors, and then they had Kayla and I go into another room to sit down and wait for them to go over what they found, and they'll come consult us in a little bit. Once they get all their paperwork and stuff situated. And this whole time, I remember us Googling it. We were Googling, like, we just heard little tidbits, of them going through the ultrasound. Like, at this point, like, I don't even think we knew what a heart was made up of, and so all this medical jargon that they're just throwing out there. We heard a couple words, so we Googled those couple words, and I remember thinking that hypoplastic left heart syndrome, which is a lot of the time fatal for children born with it, especially without intervention. At this point, we were hoping for that. Like, we were hoping that our kid actually has.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
We were hoping that he'd have this. We know something's wrong, but we hope it's this, because it seems like these kids are doing pretty good, for the most part. I don't know why, but I think when we look at that, we only saw the kids that did well, because after going through, after living this heart parent, as we call it, life, see that it doesn't end up that way for everybody. Yeah. And but anyways, we saw it as a good thing. Like, this, okay, that means there's a chance, there's some hope. And that's what they. Well, he was diagnosed with.
Critical aortic
There we
stenosis
go.
with evolving hypoplastic.
There we
left
go.
heart
So
syndrome.
eventually it was going to be the hypoplastic heart. unless we could do an in utero surgery that they brought up to us. And it was still an experimental surgery. It only worked,
1 out of 4 times.
Yeah, 25% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just whether it works or doesn't work. It doesn't even take into account just the other things that could happen with a medical procedure going wrong. And anyways, there was a chance that we could fix this with in utero surgery. So like, sign us up. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Where do we go to get this? What do we got to do? And we ended up at University of San Francisco. We went down there, May 4th?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, went down there May 4th of 2015. Colson was, 26, 28 weeks about that time?
Yeah, something like that.
And we were going to do surgery. We were going to do it. And it was a big, long needle that they, poke through Kayla's belly to try and balloon the heart. This thing's microscopic.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine how tiny a baby it's still forming's heart is,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to go in there with a needle and balloon his aortic valve.
That's crazy.
And
Yeah, it's insane.
it is insane, but it sounded good to us. It sounded like there was a chance.
Yeah.
So we jumped at it, and anyway, so we're down there, and Kayla's getting ready to be prepped to go into surgery for this, and she finally, they came in and got her to wheel her down to the OR, and they left, and it was just me in the room, and that was one of the toughest moments of my life, because I started thinking about, although it wasn't, I guess it was a very, very risky surgery, but not as much as others, but there were still those chances of, 1, losing Colston, losing the baby,
Mm-hmm.
2, losing Kayla, or 3, losing both.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about that, and it really hit me hard. And at that point, I remember just getting on my knees and just starting to talk to God at that point. And I feel like that was the first part of my being saved. And I'll get to the second part later, but I think that was the first part.
Mm-hmm.
And that was surrendering to him. I was saying, hey, I'm yours. I'm completely helpless at this point. Like, I cannot do anything for my child, nor my wife. I'm just stuck in this room with you, just waiting.
Yeah.
And I started weeping and just, talking to him. And at this point, that's all I was doing, was just talking to him, just begging him to protect them. And he did. And they came out, and the surgery wasn't successful. He still got the heart condition. It didn't prevent it, but they made it through that procedure.
Right.
They came out, and they were doing okay. So definitely a huge blessing there. But at that point, when I was talking to God, I told him, like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna find you. Like, I'm gonna direct my life really towards you.
Yeah.
I made some promises before, but like this time, like, I mean it. Like, I don't even have the strength to do it, but I'm going to. I'm going to find you, and I think that was definitely the turning point in my life when I really got on that road to God, and it hasn't been a straight road by any means.
Yeah.
Since then, very curvy road, but at least turned to Him at that point. So I think we started going to church. This is post in utero surgery. This is a few weeks before Kayla had to go down to Las Vegas, where we had Colston, and so we started going to church those couple weeks. We went to Catholic church, and just went there. It felt good. It felt like we were doing what we were supposed to be doing. But we just went to church, and then came the day that Kayla had to go down without me to be there a few weeks early before Colson was born, just in case anything happened. She was there already because we already knew that our son would be born and he would go straight to surgery, if not that day, at least shortly after.
Yeah.
So she left, and I was alone again, And at this point, I was still talking to God. I didn't. I felt like I was in a pretty lonely place again while she was down there, and I was, by myself. But I felt like I dealt with it fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
That was tough, but I was just talking to God at that point. I guess just praying, still not reading the Bible, still not frequenting church that much, and just part of me knew that I needed God to get me through this, and so it was time for me to meet Kayla in Vegas and have Colston. He was born a C-section, so I already knew that date.
Yeah.
And so I was headed down there, and it's the day of his birth, and what a crazy mix of emotions. You don't know whether to be happy that's your son being born, or have the worry take over because or you don't know what's going to happen when he does come out. You don't know if he's going to come out breathing or doing good, which in our case, actually, thank God, he came out doing well. I mean, for a kid that was born with only half a heart, he was doing okay. But it just felt like just baby steps we were taking. We were getting over these small little hurdles, and I found a lot of alone time, or just downtime in the hospital, sitting there waiting, day in, day out, just watching our, newborn baby, just in his little incubator.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right before his surgery. This is, 2 days after he was born? Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what to do with the downtime. I about had it with, social media. You can only browse through social media so much. So I decided to just try reading the Bible. Like, all right, like I know God. A couple months back, I told you that I would seek you. I'll start here. I'll just start by reading your word. Mm-hmm. And made the mistake. Well, it definitely felt like a mistake, but I started reading through Genesis, from the very beginning, and I figured that if I was going to start reading the Bible, that I'd have to start at the front.
Yeah.
And start from the front, work my way through the back, and I think I might have got it like halfway through Genesis. That was about it.
Yeah.
I really got lost in the whole naming of the lineage.
Who got who?
Yeah, and it devastated me, really. Because here I am trying so hard. I didn't even think to just try and go somewhere else. I figured that I have to start from the beginning. If I can't get over this, how am I supposed to read the rest of it?
I think it's like a normal book. You're cover to cover.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Anyway, so after that, instead of reading the Bible, I put that down. I read a few books about how to read the Bible.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot. And from then, I started just picking a chapter, or just picking a book, just picking any spot, and just reading. And it's still kind of confusing me sometimes, the timeline of things I get mixed up with, because the way I read is just I bounce around so much anyways. But anyways, that's what got me through, Colston's 5 week stay in the hospital. It was just reading the Bible, just reading books about the Bible. Yeah. And I needed it most towards the end of our stay there when Colston got through his surgery. He was recovering well, and what they had to do was they had to do what they call a heart cath. Mm-hmm. So they had to go through his femoral artery up into his heart and kind of take a look around and just make sure everything's good before they put us on the route to get home. Mm-hmm. And I remember the doctor coming out about 45 minutes, an hour into the procedure. He comes out, and he kind of has this blank, somberful look on his face. I'll never forget it. And he comes up to us and tells us that Colston went into cardiac arrest. So he died right there on the table. But in that moment, after he got done with that, he said he's okay now. Which was
start
so.
With that next time, please.
You could start with that.
Yeah, it was rough. So there was, it only took him 4 or 5 seconds to get through telling us this, but in the first 2 or 3, I felt like my son had died.
Yeah.
And even though I felt better afterwards, I still never let go of that feeling that he was so close. I
Right.
was so close to losing my son.
Yeah.
And I remember really at that point, that's when, we were telling God, I just want my son. I'll give up absolutely everything I have. I'll give up my marriage, my house, my vehicles, my belongings. I don't care. I just want a healthy child.
Yeah.
That's all I want is this son. Just do anything to give me this son. And that'll take to later in my story where I feel like there's the second part to me being saved, and I'll get there down the road. But that's how I felt. I wanted to do anything to have this kid, and but we got through that day. He was okay after that. He went back to his room, and I did some more reading and stuff like that, and then just a few more stages to get out of that hospital. And one of the last stages was they had to pull RA line out of his heart, a monitoring device that goes directly into the heart.
Mm-hmm.
But usually a bedside procedure, only takes a couple minutes. They came to us about an hour later, and we're freaking out at this point. And again, first words were Colston went into cardiac arrest. So again, those first few seconds, we thought Colston passed away, but then shortly after, figured that he's doing just fine. He's okay.
It was the same doctor.
No, this was just a nurse that told us the
Yeah.
second
What's
time.
up
Yeah.
with the doctors?
I know,
Then,
it's
man?
like,
why
come
don't that should be like training. Like
Right?
start off with he's okay now.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand a little bit like what that's like because I mean Joel when he was born, 2 months after he was born, he still weighed the same as he did when he was born, and he wasn't holding down any kind of food, breast milk, formula, none of that was staying down. So he got really dehydrated, and we went in on New Year's Eve, actually, on 2000. Losing track of time. It's 2007 when he was born, and he when he went in, he was so dehydrated. They said that he was about 2 days from kidney failure because it was that bad. But they got him healthy. He was in the NCIU for a week that first time, and I just remember that first week not knowing what's going on, knowing that he was so close to death. I mean, you mentioned that. I mean, how close your son was to dying. I mean, that is a feeling that, I mean, you talk about you'll do anything. Like, I'll give up anything, whatever it takes. I remember sitting outside of his room just crying and just, like, asking God, like help, because I can't do anything. So I understand that feeling. It's a complete helpless feeling, you know?
It is, and sometimes it turns into anger, too. I know I had my instances of that, of being angry at God, you know, for doing this. Like, if you are a good God, you know, why would you allow kids to go through this?
Yeah.
And I read a couple books, and there was one that really stuck with me particularly well. Actually, it's called "Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People?" It was written by a rabbi, and I don't completely agree with it, but there were some notes in there that helped me be a little bit more content with what we were going through. And I think the biggest thing that hit me that this book went off of was, and it was a book that I hadn't read yet, or much less heard the story of, and it was the book of Job. Just how everything was taken from Job, you know, his family included, and still having that relentless love for God, and that helped me tremendously.
Well, you know, my favorite part of Job is like at the end when he finally gets mad at God and he's like telling God, you know, why'd you do this to me, yada yada, you know, just saying all that stuff, and then God responds by saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were there when I created the earth. I didn't know you were there when I, you know, created man." And it's like you got to remember that like we don't understand why this stuff happens. We're not the one that's in control of the universe and created the earth, and it's just a powerful reminder that, I mean, no matter how bad things are, like we're not God. We don't understand. We're never gonna. I mean, like we're not gonna understand that stuff.
And that was really tough for me. Like, how could this be a part of a plan? Bad things. It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
and
And
we want a perfect life, and those things just.
and it may never make sense. I mean, that's the.
Well,
I mean,
and it's so funny that this conversation is kind of going like this, because I just got like a word yesterday in my head that like he doesn't owe us an explanation. Like he
Right.
doesn't owe us a reason for why he does the things that he does. He doesn't, like, let's be honest, he doesn't even owe us like the blessings that we get,
Yeah.
like the we just get those because he is so good.
Yeah.
Like he gave us everything that we needed for, with eternal life. Like that's all we really need. Everything else is just,
Yep.
it's just earthly stuff. Like he doesn't owe us an explanation,
Right.
for anything.
Yep.
We just think he does.
Yeah. So I guess at this point we're just getting out of the hospital, and I'm so thankful that God was in our lives to do this for us, and but all those thoughts were, I guess, creating somewhat of an arrogance in myself, because I really strive to know these answers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a person who likes to, if I get on something, I'm gonna work it out. I'm gonna get through it. I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna take care of it. And
Yeah.
and if it's something I don't know about, I'm gonna learn about it.
Yeah.
I want to find the answer to it. So I had all these questions, and that's what I really, was really striving to. So it wasn't about, reading the word to get to know him. It was just for my own selfishness to answer my questions that I had. And so anyways, at this point, this lasted quite a while. I mean, we started going back to church a little bit, but we started going back to Catholic church
Yeah.
again. And then Cole's second surgery came about, and pretty much that one actually was pretty dang smooth. That was
he breezed
in
right
and
through
out.
that one.
Wow.
So that one's tough to. I forget about it all the time. But we went through it because that one was easy. It was
Yeah.
like we were conditioned already for that
Yeah.
hospital life and everything else, and so I didn't feel like I really took God with me on that trip. Definitely feels like that. But so after that second surgery, we really started going back to church. I started getting back into it every Sunday. Then we thought, well, maybe we start signing up for some things that, that they do. I was looking at things like Knights of Columbus, because that's what my grandpa did. And we didn't really know if that's what we wanted to do. We just felt like, I don't know, we kind of owed it to God at this point.
Right.
I don't know, we were praying. We feel like you've answered a lot of prayers. The least we could do is go to church and, I don't know, I guess, go through the motions.
You gave me something, I'll give you something now.
Yeah, that conditional
Yeah.
relationship. And I don't know, even going to Catholic church, it didn't feel right. I had something I'd never admitted to Kayla, but we both sought something else.
Right.
That church just, nothing against it, like you said
Yeah.
before, nothing against Catholic church. That's something I still struggled with for a long time, because I always thought, there's a lot of truth there, because that's where a lot of it started from, it feels like. And church anyways. But it didn't feel right. We wanted something else. And I think I'm getting a little too far ahead. Because I forgot to mention, just before, we were feeling this way about church, was when Samuel was born.
No, we got pregnant with him.
Yeah, but not before we started coming to this church. I was getting into that. We had Samuel before we started going to church here.
I know. No, we got pregnant with Sammy right after his second surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that. So anyways, so it was what, November, just a few months before we started going here. When we were feeling this way about church, but we're still going to Catholic church. Colston came down with a freak thing called diaphragmatic hernia, and he had to get surgery. So we went all the way to Renown to have his surgery for that, which had nothing to do with the heart defect or nothing, just a freak thing.
Oh, wow.
You can get it from a gunshot, a stab wound, or a car accident, but it's really freak if you just get it,
Wow.
2 years into your life. So
Yeah, it was just a random hole in his diaphragm that was about the size of a dime.
yeah,
Oh,
so
wow.
we're, I don't know, nothing new for us. Like, we live life by the small percentages, it feels
Yeah.
like at that point.
Here we go again.
And so at this point, we didn't even think about it until a few days into Colston's stay there. But something unexpected happened. He started going septic. He had some problems in there, so he had to go back in a second time and fix that. But that time, it left us in the hospital longer, and Kayla's pregnant with Samuel. So now we're thinking, oh wow, we're in one hospital with one kid, and Kayla's gonna have to have her C-section in another hospital in Carson City. So we worked through it. But yeah, Colston was stuck in Renown Hospital recovering, and Kayla was getting ready at Carson Tahoe to have Samuel, and I remember not getting any sleep.
Back and forth.
No time to read the Bible or anything, but I was able to have that alone time and that back and forth driving and talking to God and stuff and praying, and we got through it. But after that, I think that's right when we really felt that the Catholic Church really wasn't for us, and we started coming here. And it was something I struggled with. I mean, even in that first day, I remember coming in here just really not feeling at home in a hand-raising church. That was so weird to me. And that's funny because I raise my hands almost at every song I feel convicted to raise my hands now. But at that point, I thought it was really weird. And then it got really weird when somebody spoke in tongues. And as if things couldn't get any weirder for me.
What's going on now?
Yeah, I've got different thoughts about that now, but that time that was tough. It was just like I was getting all these thoughts in my head that want to tell me to leave.
Yeah.
But I remember just sitting there and I prayed and I put my head between my legs and I just closed my eyes and I sat there talking to God, just sat begging Him, like I came to tears. Just I don't feel, like I'm in the right place here. Like, is this where I need to be? And at that moment, Pastor Leo came around and just touched my shoulder. I think just like he does with everybody, as he walks down the aisles and shakes people's hands. But at that moment, it meant so much to me because it was like it wasn't just a touch. Like it felt just warm. Like it went through me. It just this overwhelming feeling of just knowing that I'm in the right place. Like I really felt at peace that morning. Still couldn't get over the the hand raising or the speaking in tongues, but I figured God just told me that I'm in the right place now, so I got to work through that stuff. And it was tough, but I really started reading the Bible then. I really started getting into it after we started going to church here. Just the way Pastor Leo does his messages, they just and even Pastor Eddie, for the few that we've gotten to listen that he's done on Sundays. They just both of them just talk in such a way that really hits home, and just it's so personable, and I really fell in love with just what our name's all about. Valley Christian Fellowship, like just that fellowship that we have here. I really was drawn to that, and I absolutely loved that, and I think finally at this point, this is when I really straightening out that road to Christ, and I think it was a message Pastor Eddie gave, and it had to do with Jesus being on the cross, but it was that contemplation. I think that was that. Like I said, the first part of me being saved. I think this is that second part where I think I truly felt saved, and it's when I really 100% completely surrendered. This whole time, I'm thinking, I would do anything to save my son. Like, God, do anything you can in your will just to let me have my son. And on this day, on this morning, I'm getting a message that's, bringing Pastor Eddie to tears, and in turn bringing me to tears about how God gave His Son for us, and I just felt so selfish at that point, and really, really humbled in that moment. And I think that's when I really feel like that at that moment I was saved.
Yeah.
Like I finally got it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like not only did I say, "Hey God, I'm yours," but like
Mhm.
I got it.
Yeah.
Like I understand.
Mhm.
And I think anybody could accept salvation, but it's a whole nother point to really understand it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And anyways, it's just been a great road since then. For somebody that claimed atheism, I never thought that I could be close to God or believe in a God, and here I was, like being thankful for everything that's happened to me, my son's sicknesses, my loneliness that I had, my depression. I am thankful for those things. I feel like they built me,
Mhm.
and I'm thankful for this church. And I think this place saved me. I feel like, and it only continued after going to our men's studies, and just at this point, I'm just feeling closer and closer and closer to God, and just felt like every time I go to those men's studies, I needed to be there on those Tuesday nights. I mean, the first night I went was the very first night that we were starting a study on the Holy Spirit.
Oh yeah.
So I remember it really hit home, because I remember my first day at this church, wondering about speaking in tongues, and always trying to look for that answer of why people would do that, and why this happens, and why this, and why that. And on that night we studied that, and then I found myself going home and praying in tongues. So I thought that was so funny, coming from my first day here, having those feelings, those negative thoughts towards it, to my first night about Bible study, going home and actually praying in tongues.
Yeah.
It just made so much sense at that point. And I remember furthering our studies. I started going every Tuesday, and I remember being Bill. I absolutely love Bill. Bill's my hero. Bill really is. He's my spirit animal. I love that guy. But he came to me one night, and we talked about it a few nights before the men's encounter, and it just went in one ear and out the other for the most part. But this one night he came up and said, like, "You're going. Like you have your way paid for. You don't get a choice. Like,
Yeah.
like let Kayla know that she's got the kids for the weekend, but you're going on this encounter." It's like, because I never would have gone on my own. I would have been like, "Hey, you guys have fun. That's not for me. I don't even know what happens, but that's not me. I don't want to go and encounter anything. Like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, I think I know God just fine where I'm at."
Yeah.
And that eventually turned into actually going to the men's encounter. Not having a say in it. But that was probably one of the most beautiful experiences in my life. That really changed me.
Mhm.
And I thought I was on a pretty good road right before that.
Yeah.
Of like, yeah, God, I'm doing a good job. Like, I'm finally doing Bible study now, and reading the Word every day, and a completely different level.
Yeah.
Going to that men's encounter.
Well, I remember talking to you just a couple days before that. I think the Tuesday night before
Uh-huh.
that, the week that you went. I was like, you have no idea, because it was the second one I was going to. I was like, you have no idea what you're about, and you're like, oh, I think I do, and I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, no, he has
You're
no
like,
idea.
no.
This
No,
is not a
you know what?
normal
I
night.
kind of did have an idea.
Uh-huh.
I knew what it, because I mean, there was enough hints out there, but I knew
Yeah.
I was going to have a spiritual encounter, and so going to a Catholic church, you almost put spirit kind of on this shelf.
Uh-huh.
It's a very truth based church,
Mhm.
and then our church, which was weird for me, is very. Actually, Dennis in one of our Bible studies said that, we're very balanced
Mhm.
between truth and spirit. That's how it should be. A spirit-filled church is going to lack in the truth. A truth-filled church is going to lack in spirit.
Yeah.
But we really, I think, do it right
good balance.
by really have a good balance of truth and spirit.
Mhm.
But that was something that I still always lacked, was the spirit part.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I never didn't really. I mean, it helped with the Bible study, but it's something that I really lacked was the spirit portion. I didn't feel like I did worship very well. Like, I could never really just get into it. I just never, for some reason, felt an unconditional love for God. I just, like, that love was there. I could say, hey, I love you, but it was different, after we went to that men's encounter. And anyways, so at the men's encounter, it did have this spiritual encounter of the third kind. but anyways, so we're there, and it was just, I mean, we really dove into it. I mean, they really cram the Holy Spirit into that thing, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So that first night we get in there, and that first Friday night was just amazing. Just that first worship song, I just felt so convicted at that point. Like, this is what it's all about. Like, hearing these testimonies, seeing everybody else's love for God. This is why we worship. This is really starting to make sense now. Now I really see why we have this unconditional love for Christ. And it's because what He does in our lives, and we saw that through the testimonies. That's why I love testimonies. That's why I think it's such a powerful thing. Is that, I mean, I think that's what it took for me to get to that point, was hearing people's testimonies and just seeing how Christ works in their lives, and then saying, hey, He does pretty dang good in my life too. I should be praising Him and worshiping Him. And I felt so convicted that I got baptized. You were there. I got baptized in Tahoe, which
Pretty cold in January.
very, very,
I mean, it's
very
cold in the summer, so
I think I'm still warming up from that. I think it was we barely got to the double digits that morning. I think.
Yeah. It was cool. I was just cold standing out there watching you guys. Like, couldn't wait for it to be over so I get back inside.
Oh
So
yeah, it was rough.
Getting in the water.
It was rough, but I remember just feeling an overwhelming conviction because I hate water. I hate going swimming in the summer. That's the last thing I want to do is go jump into a lake. I just that's just not me. Plus I could get cold in water in 100-degree weather. Like, I don't like that.
Tahoe's notoriously cold all year long.
Oh yeah, that's definitely not for me. But something overcame me. The Holy Spirit definitely overcame me, and I felt like that was something I had to do. And I was always, one of those people, in the Catholic Church who believe in one baptism for the forgiveness of sins, and I got that when I was a child. But and I always, believed in that. I still kind of believe in that. It only takes one time, but maybe not necessarily a baby versus, when you're old enough to make that decision. That's another story.
Yeah.
But it was huge for me. I really felt like everything, all these burdens, all these bad times, this darkness I've always had, like it was really washed away that Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, it was really cool to see you guys, like all the guys that made that decision to get baptized. I mean, willing to go into Lake Tahoe in January when it's, like you said, barely double digits and freezing outside. And it was really cool to see just the commitment to, I mean, I'm ready to just let all that, my past be behind me and leave this mountain a new man, a new person.
I mean, Kayla can agree with me. I mean, there was, all those times when we started going to this church, to a non-denominational church, that I've really fought baptism. That was something I never wanted to do. I feel like, no, I had my baptism. I'm fine. Like, I don't need to go to another one. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I don't really I mean, I was never willing to get baptized on a warm day. Or in the warm water over here.
Yeah, I was I got baptized in the hot tub.
I know, and I could have gone with you that day, but I didn't feel like I needed to.
Yeah,
I didn't feel convicted to. But that day,
it happened exactly
Thanks,
when it was
Lord.
supposed to happen.
Thank you. That was the worst day in the calendar year you probably picked, but but it worked out. I feel very blessed, and that whole men's encounter, and going back to that loneliness, that I used to have of not having, friends or brotherhood, and then since then, I am just so blessed. We all are in this church, of the brotherhood that we have here.
yeah,
I feel a closer connection with guys that I've only met a few months ago, than people that I've known for years.
Yeah.
You know, that there's stuff I think that we pour out to each other that we don't tell our, other people we think are our closest friends. And I think that really that makes a brotherhood, being able to just let everything go and know that we have each other's backs no matter what.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're at.
Yeah. You know what I love about your story is just like hearing God like keep coming back in your life, even when you were trying to fight him, even when you're calling him an atheist and you're still praying to him, in secret and stuff. And you could just see him constantly pursuing you, knowing that eventually you'd come to him. And what I like is when you had made that first commitment in the hospital, you were trying. Like you didn't know where to start. You didn't know how to do it, but you were trying. And I think that is really, God's just after your heart, and there was definitely, he had your heart at that time, and it just took time to figure out what direction, you needed to go, and he showed you that.
I think a lot of us are really reluctant to see that. We're all told, and you'll see it. You go drive through the Midwest, and you'll see billboard after billboard of a painting of Jesus coming through a cornrows in a field, and with the big words saying, have you found Jesus yet?
Yeah.
So I think we're all held to this accord that we have to find Jesus, and we do, but I don't think we all realize that he is always seeking us
Yeah. He's right there.
first. He's always right behind us, no matter what we're going through, no matter how far we feel from him, if we are away from him. We just have to turn around and look at him.
Yeah.
And I really look back, I've never really thought about my story until you asked me to give this testimony. So looking back, I can actually see all those times that Christ was in my life. That, I remember being at those times going, "There's no way he's close to me right now. He's so far away. It's not even funny." And he was right there the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm just too busy, with everything else, too blinded. We watched a video up there at that men's encounter. And I forget which video, but it was that goofy one with the two guys.
Oh yeah.
And it started out pretty goofy, but I started sobbing at the end of it because it got to one point where this guy is battling back and forth to, this guy that's playing God, and he's ask him a bunch of questions. God, why do you do this? And then God would answer. God, why do you do these things? And then God would answer. And there was one time where, he started breaking down. He started talking about all these bad things that he was carrying around and all this weight and everything else. And then God's like, hold on, you were never carrying that weight. I was always carrying it for you.
Yeah.
And it was like at that point, I never really looked at that. Like, no matter what weight you're carrying around, God's carrying it for you.
Yeah.
You just feel like you're carrying yourself.
Yeah.
And until you realize that, man, what a great God we serve to have this this reckless, relentless love for us. It is truly amazing, and don't get me wrong, I still have my issues. I'm still not the best Christian in the world. I've got my own battles. I'm a construction worker, so I definitely don't have the cleanest tongue around or any of that. But I feel like I'm finally I've got fuel in the tank, and I'm on a good road to Christ, and I feel good. I feel like I never could be at this point.
Yeah.
And I never thought I'd take Christ to get here.
Yeah.
And now I'm here, knowing and thinking that there's no way I could have done it without Christ.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Doing
I just
good.
love, one, as your wife, of course, I love how your story played out. But I just love just how much you can just say in your face, Satan, because he tried so hard, from your childhood, pouncing on your loneliness, to no friends, to feeling, lonely all the time. And then, your loneliness with women and putting, the wrong woman in your path or whatever. But now, Like, you have an amazing marriage. You have this amazing brotherhood. You have amazing kids. Like, you have this amazing fellowship that you never thought you would have, when that's the one thing he was trying to, you know, just kill you with, basically. You know, and now you can just be like, huh, nice try. Like, in turn, you helped me surrender to Christ. So you can almost say, thank you, Satan, because you made me stronger. You made me surrender. And if it wasn't for you and trying to do that, then, you know, I wouldn't be as close to Christ as I am now. So thank you, Satan, which would really hurt him.
Yeah.
So I just love that.
Yeah, it did work out. So definitely in a good place now, and you could definitely see it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Holy Spirit's really working in our church right now.
Oh, yeah.
You can see it tremendously. I mean, going from a Bible study, and I started only last September, October, and we've probably at least doubled in size.
Easily.
Yeah.
I mean, for a church that we've only got 300-ish usual goers on Sunday
Uh-huh.
to Sunday services. I mean, I think we've got probably one of the biggest men's groups out there.
Yeah.
I mean, even
Yeah.
talking to the guys from Life Church,
Yeah.
you know, a place where they have, you know, over 1,000 people that go to it, don't have quite the men's group we do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're doing pretty good.
I just went to the Band of Brothers on Saturday for the first time, and then we went over to the church to help out. And I was surprised at how many guys I didn't know. Like, I mean, I met some. Well, I mean, I had seen them before, and maybe said
Ones that
hi,
can't
you know,
make
but
Tuesday?
yeah, or like I can't make Tuesday all the
Oh,
time
okay.
either.
Yeah.
So it's like I maybe saw him, you know, and got introduced to him once or twice or whatever, but I don't really know him, you know, and I was able to get to know him, and I was just there thinking, I can't believe how much this church has grown. I've been out here for 2.5 years, going to the church for almost 2.5 years now, or about 2.5 years, and I mean the men's group was maybe 10 people.
Wow.
You know, when I started on a
Wow.
good day, maybe 10, 15 if you're lucky,
Mhm.
but it was closer to 10, and now.
Wow.
I mean, when I do get here, and I was showing up late for a little while there, and when I'd show up, I mean, I'd have to pull a chair off and sit away from the table, you know.
Wow.
So
I know we had 36 women at our
That's
group this
crazy.
last Tuesday. It was crazy.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an awesome thing. And yeah, testimonies are I love them. I can't wait for the next time we just go through them with our Tuesday group, which
Yeah.
it probably won't be until we get through this next book we're doing.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, hopefully everybody out there listening got something from that, because I think it doesn't matter where you were at in your life, or what you've been through, or that testimony that you're hearing. It doesn't matter what they've been through. We all can relate to each other
Yeah.
at some point or another. And I remember being at that men's encounter, listening to testimonies, and I related with men that I never thought I
Mm-hmm.
was humanly possible.
Oh yeah.
And but we all can relate to each other. So every testimony out there is of value
Yeah.
to listen to. And anyways, so if anybody out there, I mean, I'm Justin in church, so if you have any questions, please feel free. I'll talk about anything on my walk, things I may have left out or didn't elaborate enough on. I'll answer any questions. You
Yeah.
come talk to me. But anyways, hopefully
Cool.
Yeah.
the next person is nice and ready to give theirs, and
Oh,
we
yeah.
get a good line. It sounds like we do.
Yep, I've got a couple people lined up, so I don't know who will be next, but talk to some of the people that volunteered, and we'll see who's next. And hopefully, like I
Yeah.
said, we can get some ladies on here.
Yeah.
And that'd be good. So, and I know this one is pretty long. I should have said something at the beginning, because when we tried to record it on Sunday, it was really long as well.
Yeah.
So I figured that. But some of these podcasts may run really long, and that's okay. It's a podcast. You can pause it and come back to it later.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly.
you know, for me, I could probably listen to the whole thing, but
Mhm.
I mean, this is probably about my commute every day to work. So, anyway, but I mean, anything else, I guess, to add? No.
I don't think so.
All right. Well, we will wrap up then. But hopefully we'll have the next one on sooner than later. Like I said, the gaps is just because we're working out technical difficulties that we keep having. Did it a different way today, and hopefully it turned out. I'll find out real quick here. And then and it's just trying to, I've never done this stuff before, so just trying to figure the technology out. So, but yeah, I guess hopefully we'll have another one on next week, and we'll just go from there. So just I guess have a good week, everybody.
Have a good week, guys.